Direct confrontation creates immediate resistance, but influence delivered through a trusted proxy bypasses every layer of psychological armor. When you attempt to persuade someone directly, their ego stays on high alert, but when the exact same suggestion comes from their own inner circle, they embrace it as their own brilliant conclusion. Shadow influence is the art of indirect psychological control. In this masterclass, discover how to engineer synthetic consensus, weaponize trusted intermediaries, and dictate major outcomes while remaining completely invisible. The trusted echo chamber bypasses this defense by targeting the people the decision maker trusts most, their key advisors, deputies, or close confidants. By quietly feeding your strategic narrative to these secondary figures through informal conversations, targeted briefs, or mutual connections, you plant the seed indirectly. As these advisors absorb the concept, they naturally pass it along to the target as their own expert counsel. When the target hears the same core recommendation echoed by multiple trusted sources within their inner circle, they adopt the narrative with absolute conviction, unaware that the idea originated from the very party sitting across the table. Human beings rely heavily on social proof to determine what is safe, logical, and prestigious. Synthetic consensus is the systematic creation of an artificial environment where every external signal encourages the target toward your desired outcome. You achieve this by coordinating subtle shifts across their broader ecosystem, influencing industry commentary, securing third-party endorsements, and shaping peer opinions before the formal negotiation begins. When the target looks around to gauge the landscape, every benchmark, article, and peer conversation reflects the exact perspective you engineered. Refusing your proposal suddenly feels like standing alone against an overwhelming industry trend. Driven by the fear of isolation and outdated thinking, the target aligns with your position to stay comfortably within the manufactured consensus. Direct demands often trigger prideful resistance and personal friction. Third-party validation eliminates this personal conflict by using neutral, authoritative intermediaries, such as independent auditors, industry consultants, or mutual allies, to deliver the underlying facts and demands when an objective third party highlights a risk, valuation gap, or market necessity. The target cannot frame it as an aggressive attack from an opponent. Instead, they view it as an unyielding reality of the market. Because suspicion never falls on you, your personal relationship with the target remains entirely unblemished. You allow the third party to apply the heavy psychological pressure, while you position yourself as a reasonable partner, simply helping them navigate the tough realities presented by the experts. Decisions are rarely made in a vacuum. They are heavily dictated by the immediate physical, emotional, and informational context preceding them. Environmental priming is the calculated manipulation of the surrounding conditions days before a critical meeting takes place. This involves controlling the sequence of information the target receives, subtly highlighting recent industry failures, or ensuring specific stress-inducing market data reaches their desk right before you meet. By pre-shaping their emotional state, inducing subtle urgency, caution, or ambition, you prime their brain to seek a specific type of solution. When you finally present your proposal, it acts as an immediate relief valve for the specific psychological state you pre-engineered, making acceptance feel like an instinctive relief. Invisible option restriction is the strategic practice of using third parties to quietly close down all alternative paths before the target even realizes they are being cornered. Through indirect channels, you incentivize competitors, regulatory bodies, or key suppliers to withdraw their offers or raise their barriers. As each external option quietly disappears, the target's strategic landscape contracts without your visible intervention. When they finally sit down at the negotiation table, they believe they are making a free choice from available market options. In reality, you have systematically eliminated every exit door, leaving your proposed deal as their only viable escape route from total stagnation. The ultimate mastery of proxy leverage rests in suppressing the urge to take personal credit for the win. The shadow master paradox dictates that the moment you demand public recognition for orchestrating a move, you destroy the very leverage that made the operation successful. By remaining completely invisible in the background, you secure permanent strategic advantages that visible leaders can never touch. When you allow the target and their advisors to take full public ownership of the outcome, several key psychological shifts occur simultaneously. First, because the target believes the decision was entirely their own idea, they will defend the terms with fiercer loyalty than if you had forced them to comply. Second, if complications arise during execution, Public accountability falls squarely on their shoulders, keeping your reputation completely protected. Finally, staying in the shadows prevents future opponents from recognizing your true tactical playbook. You control the flow of real value, dictate the structural terms, and guide the long-term trajectory of the relationship, all while the target proudly boasts about their brilliant victory to the public. You trade noisy, fragile vanity for quiet, permanent power, mastering the art of steering the ship without ever standing at the helm.